So, according to Google.com, apparently Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Generation 4 is consensually the greatest Pokemon generation of all time. And I agree. Yeah, fucking right. And I'm just kidding. It's your boy Franklin. What's up, guys? So today I wanted to talk about what is your guys' best generation, arguably of all time in Pokemon. Based on my research and based on the opinions of people that I've talked to through my live streams and quite a bit of my videos as well. Um, Generations 3, 4, and 5 have always been those top, like very top of the list of a lot of people. And personally, for me, I have a bias towards Gen 3 because Gen 3 introduced me into the world of Pokemon itself. Now, obviously, um, this isn't the first generation of Pokemon that I played. More particularly, it was the first Pokemon game that I ever owned, and there's nothing crazy about Generation 3 from Ruby and Sapphire, I should say. But I did end up owning Pokemon Emerald, and it changed a lot of. It basically changed my childhood completely. In regards to what it did in regards to my childhood, it basically introduced me into a whole new world of gaming, and I've always been a big fan of Generation 3 ever since then. The Battle Frontier was a really cool idea that I kind of wished it was introduced more in more generations, and Generation 3 was something that always been having a, you know, it always has a place in my heart. And for some of you guys, it always, you know, Generation 3 has arguably some of the top tier Pokemon ever: Metagross, Salamence, um, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, the Lati twins, Jirachi, the Deoxys forms. And there's some sleepers here like Flygon. We have the starters, Hariyama, Exploud, Aggron. Um, so a lot of people have always, including myself, always said Generation 3 is always the best. Generation 4, however, I think that would say that is the peak of Pokemon in particular, because it introduced the world of Pokemon on the Nintendo DS. Now, obviously, it's not the very first Pokemon game licensed on the DS. As a matter of fact, I believe it was Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, because it was introduced first, and then Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. And then after Diamond and Pearl, we had a bunch of spin-offs, Shuffle, I believe Trowsy, if you guys remember that as well. And then we ended up getting Platinum. Obviously, that's not in any particular order. Um, and then we had Generation 5. And so I'm going to talk about Generation 3 first. Like I said, I've always had a very biased point of view towards Gen 3, especially when the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire uh, came out. It's what's kind of funny actually is that Emerald was the first game that I owned, and then when I was in college, I didn't really play Pokemon at all because I kind of was shifting myself into Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, and I was actually playing in local tournaments for money or for prizes or whatever, and Pokemon kind of faded out as soon as I bought Pokemon White. I was like in my junior year of high school, and I did end up meeting some friends over Pokemon, but I didn't really meet a lot of people like I had years later, leading up to today, of course. So then in 2016, I actually refounded my interest in Pokemon through Pokemon Go, which a lot of people criticize because Pokemon Go is Pokemon Go. But with Pokemon Go, I actually ended up getting a old Nintendo DS copy and a 3DS, I should say, and I ended up picking Omega Ruby. And 5 years later, I've met a lot of great people online. I met a lot of communities, a lot of battling. Obviously Smogon was a big part of my life as well in terms of competitiveness, and here I am today. It's kind of funny, like I said, I got the first game that I owned was Emerald, and the first game that brought me back into Pokemon was a Gen 3 remake game, which is pretty funny. So there. I think that's my number one choice, Generation 3. Generation 4 is a very interesting part of my life. Um, Now, I know some of you guys are going to say, well, what about the other generations? What about generations 1, 2, 6, 7, 8? I'll get to that. Don't worry. Don't freaking worry. I will get to that. So Generation 4. Obviously, a lot of people say this is the greatest generation of all time. Like I said, this was one of the first mainline Pokemon games that were introduced on the DS, and kind of hard to argue. A lot of people's favorites are in this generation. Infernape, we have Weavile, we have Magnezone, we have Rhyperior, Electivire, Magmortar, and back then these two, the evolutionary Pokemon, actually pretty much like all these Pokemon right here, people have been wanting these Pokemon for a long ass time, and they finally happened. The first generation where we actually ended up getting evolutions of previously incorporated Pokemon from different games, and the fact that Pokemon like Sneasel, Magneton, Lickitung, Rhydon, those Pokemon that ended up getting evolutions, that's kind of crazy. It was a really big idea back then, and I remember seeing these on Cerebi, and yes, that same old Cerebi from 15 years ago was the leaks and the rumors were circling around. It was freaking hyped. Um, Obviously, we have the legendary trio, pretty fire. Heatran, a fucking menace to society. Arceus, the god of Pokemon. Then we have the different alternate forms of Pokemon here as well. And with the announcement and the rollout videos of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, this expect a lot of arguments saying that Gen 4 is going to be the greatest generation of all time, and I don't really have an argument against it. The only thing I hated about the original Diamond and Pearl games were that the engine was so freaking slow. The HP going down, dwindling every freaking turn was so freaking slow, especially when you went up against fat Pokemon like Blissey, which took literally like 30 seconds for its HP to drop. um, Other than that, like the Safari was fire, Pokemon contests were fire, the Platinum Battle Frontier is fire, Fight Area fire, partnering with the characters within specific areas was also fire, and I believe that has been confirmed to be in the remakes as well. Underground was always an all-time classic for me. In this generation, I ended up getting my first shiny, which was a Ponyta, in Route 1, 2, 3, I believe. I don't recall the exact number. It's the exact same route where Spiritomb is able to be caught. And, wow, I just had a lot of fun with this game, to be honest with you. I will say I had more fun with this game than Emerald. I'll admit that. Back then, of course, those were the only couple of games that I had owned when I was a kid. Middle school, I believe. 2006 is when these games came out. So yeah, I was in middle school by then, like 6th grade or 7th grade. I had a lot of fun, especially when I ended up getting a Game Shark and getting the rest of the legendary or mythical Pokemon that I couldn't catch. It was pretty funny seeing my cousin's expression for the first time. He was like, "How the fuck did you get a Darkrai?" And that was like one of the best like facial expressions he ever showed me ever. That shit was so funny. Um, Action Replay was pretty fun with this as well. I ain't gonna lie, I've been using Action Replay when I was a kid. I guess send me to Poke Jail, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Um, I had lots of fun with this generation. In terms of storytelling, in terms of adventure, I think it was pretty good. I think it's a lot better, or slightly better than Emeralds in regards to the end game and the post story as well. You have an entire like freaking island to explore essentially, and you get to meet Pokemon from the national decks. And then with Pal Park, obviously you want to bring your Pokemon from Generation 3 to 4. I did that with my Pokemon because when I was a kid, I always had a sentimental like aspect of my game where it's like, if I want my Pokemon from the beginning to be with me to the end of time, I'm gonna keep them, in the future generation games. So which I did that, and Pal Park was a pretty cool idea as well. Um, Underground, like I said, making the Puffins, which is coming back in the remakes as well. Pretty good, pretty phenomenal times I ever had as a kid. My DS, I always enjoyed playing on DS and Pokemon. I would say Pokemon and Super Mario DS were arguably like the games that kept me busy, the games that made me more entertained over the years. And in retrospective, I think it still stands to this day. Those games have always been fire. Alright, last but not least, we have Generation 5. And Generation 5, Um, yeah, Generation 5. Don't sleep on Generation 5, guys, because I know people are saying, "What are you talking about? Why is Generation 5 being slept on?" I wouldn't say it's being slept on like crazy, but the initial response when Generation 5 came out was a lot of people did not like the design of a lot of Pokemon. For example, the biggest ones, or the top two biggest ones, was the Garbodor line and the Vanillix line. Of course, Ice Cream Trash. How the fuck can they be Pokemon? How is Moving Gears a Pokemon? How is a Snowflake a Pokemon? I understand that. Um, I understand that. Generation 5 ended up getting this, I believe, junior year of high school. They came out in 2010 or 11. I think North America came out in 2011. Japan, it came out in like late 2010. Fucking Japan getting everything. Um, again, for some reason, I cannot relate to this game as much as I could with Generations 3 and 4. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I feel like maybe it's because, having this Pokedex being the beginning Pokedex where there's no other Pokemon from other regions to start off with, kind of make me feel like, is this actually a Pokemon game? What am I playing? But as I progressed throughout the game, um, it started becoming more entertaining. Particularly, you get to see the boss of Team Plasma like very early, and the introduction of N makes things a lot interesting in regards to story and character development. And I will argue that probably N is one of the best developed characters of all time in the mainline Pokemon series, but that's gonna be for another video. And my first starter that I chose was Tepig, ended up being an Emboar. Um, I I enjoyed this game, but something about this game is kind of like I cannot relate to it. I played hundreds of hours of it, of course. The subway. We also had White Forest, Black City, um, and obviously we had some post-story areas that were opened up to us as well. Um, but for some reason, like this game, I don't know. I feel like yeah, people will say this is one of the greatest games of all time as well in the Pokemon series, and but I will argue about one thing, and one thing only. I kind of wish that Black 2 and White 2 were DLC, or something in regards to like, it's obviously it's a 2 year later is what kind of event or whatever. I kind of felt like this was the time for Pokemon Company to understand that we should have had DLC at this point in time. And obviously with the different forms of of Kyurem, obviously the Therian forms of the Genie trio. I feel like had I gotten Black 2, White 2, perhaps I would have been more interested in the game, and that's probably a consequence of me not getting in the first place. I was a kid. I think that the mindset of me as a kid is like, if I already have Diamond and Pearl, I'm not gonna buy Platinum. What's the fucking point? And I didn't know about that value of Platinum at the time. Same thing with this generation. If I already have Black and White, I'm not gonna buy a Black 2, White 2 just for more Pokemon, or for more updated versions of a Pokemon, which ultimately is the dumbest thing I ever done in my life, and I'll admit that because Black 2 and White 2 arguably were better enhanced overall. It dived into the story, or it dived more into the original story from Black and White, and the Pokemon were a lot better. For some of them, of course. And I ended up getting my second shiny here. It was, I believe, a Gothorita here. So it was pretty cool. Um, the soundtrack of this game, though, is fire. This is probably one of the best soundtracks I ever heard in Pokemon. The cities, the shift from day to night. Driftveil City was fire. Opelucid had a good freaking vibe to a city. Black City had the same thing as well. Even when you're going through the routes, it felt like the music was natural compared to like generations 4 and 5. I mean 4 and 3, where the music kind of is like you're jigging to it, but it doesn't seem like a natural fit to it. Generation 5 had the soundtrack was just a natural fit for me personally. And so I will say my top 3 here will be Generations 3, 4, and 5. If I had a biased list, I would probably say first place would be 3, and then 4, and then 5. if I had a equal opinion, I'd probably switch 3 and 4 around. But yeah, let me know what your guys' opinion. What is the best generations of all time? Yeah, I didn't talk about the other generations, but I do. I'll probably will make a video. I think I'll make a maybe like a video about some sleeper generation because ooh, there are quite a bit of sleeper generations out there that we have. And yeah, that's it for today. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite generation? What do you think is the greatest generation of all time and why? Let me know in the comments. Peace.